Look, in the message, I said, in order for them to get the promise of tomorrow, they had to sanctify. In other words, set apart from, let go of. Y'all with me? That's why when Elijah met the woman, sanctification to her was not identifying with loosing and letting go of people, stuff, or things. What she had to part with was her meal. Talk about it. She had to let go of the cake she was holding on to in order to get the miracle of increase. You see, you got to realize that some things God is asking you to give up. Ain't things that are reasonably make sense. Oh, well, it makes sense to let go of Bill. It makes sense to let go of Gladys. It makes sense to let go of, all this other stuff. That makes sense. It's obvious that these things stand in the way. But what about the stuff you're holding on to that still is your lifeline? I wish I had somebody, because we are holding on to some stuff that logically and reasonably is not afflicting. It's not demoralizing and demeaning. So you got to know, and God is talking to all of us in here, because with all of us there is something even right now we all realize He told me to let it go. He told me to let it go now. He ain't told nobody else. He ain't spread it out in the audience for others to hear. Secretly, He told me. And let me tell you something. She must be a worthy enough person for God to take an interest in saving her life. See, you got to be careful not to devalutize yourself simply because people don't see your worth. See, because when we devalutize ourselves because people don't see our worth, then we think anything that God says doesn't mean me. Why? Because I don't mean nothing to anybody. Why you say that? Look how they treat me. Look how they talk about me. Look at the neglect and the abuse. And sometimes we can go through that for so long that we feel so beneath, so little. And then when God comes and speaks and tells you you are valuable, we have to crawl out that hole that Satan has put us in of nothingness. The Lord required a sanctification on her part. But it wasn't walking away from the nightclub. It was walking away from the cake. Why hold on to something God is asking for and don't even realize it's the key to your increase? And we stand around here talking about, Lord, enlarge my territory. Expand my boundaries. And God says, I would have done that a long time ago, and you ain't got to even be having this long conversation with me if you'd have heard what I said a couple of months ago when I said, let it go. sometimes the things that's keeping you bound on this side is because of the dislikes that you have for certain people. The misstood feelings. And God said, look at him. Before you go into my stuff. See, the whole thing with it, going into his stuff means you got to look like him. Hear me. And by no means, don't get that mixed up with perfection. Let me help you right now. The only thing God requires us is to be obedient to the word to this point. He has spoke to us. This point. I am perfect before God as long as I am walking in a line to this point. Most of us has failed in this point. Stuff God has said that we still struggle with. Are y'all in here? Look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, there is a tomorrow. Better than today. And God wants you to have it. And say, God, what is it that you want me to say? With 15 or better leaflets packed full of various sermons that have been preached over the span of 17 years. And I thumbed through all of them, trying to find his voice. What about running coming from behind? What about only a spoonful? What about conflict, overcoming weariness? And the list of sermons went on. And I sat at the close of the last booklet and said, God, 2 hours I've sat. And nothing is saying you. And the Lord said this one thing to me, darling. But what about tomorrow? Because everybody has one. Anybody with good sense would want their tomorrow to be better than their today. I don't know where you come from. I don't know what your battles in life may be. I don't know what your conflicts are. But I do know this one thing. God who created you don't want your tomorrow looking like your today. You don't want some of this stuff that you're going through to be the stuff you have to go through tomorrow. He does not want the battles and struggles that are tormenting your mind to be the same that you find yourself wrestling with on today. He wants to heal you. But like God said to Joshua at the brink of the Jordan River, tell them, and that's what I have to tell you. You're here, so close to your promise. But you got to sanctify. You got to know. You got to make some decision. You got to say, what from this point goes on with me, and what from this point I've got to get rid of. And you know what, darling? You don't need to make a phone call. You don't need to verbalize that out loud to anyone, because sometimes the only thing people want to know is your business. This discussion of sanctification is between you and God. Are y'all in here? But do know know this one thing. Wherever you are right now, he wants to take you further tomorrow. But every tomorrow that becomes bright has to start with a day today. A choice and a decision to be made. The hands